Alrighty, you clicked on the video, and I thank you very much for that. But did you know this channel is made for lore that is so obscure and so unique for no matter what setting it could be? It could be the most AAA title you could ever think of, and I will cover lore that's so unique and so unknown in that title that no other YouTube video has a video on that. So yeah, check out my other videos if you haven't already. Besides that, let's get back to this. So you want to know, what would happen if Raziel was put in the Warhammer Fantasy universe? Well, the main question is, could he survive? And to save you guys a lot of time, the answer would be yes, but I'm going to tell you how he could die, how he could get really royally fucked. So, if you like this beautiful, more or less BDSM outlook on Raziel, where you just can't wait to hear how he could die in a million ways, this is basically a video for you. So let's dive into it. When it comes to Raziel, we should talk about him himself. What are his capabilities and what is he? Well, Raziel's an undead vampire. Not a vampire that is undead, he is literally an undead vampire. He is capable of possessing corpses to resurrect himself. He can outmaneuver any opponent, doesn't matter. He can feed on your very soul to regain his power. He is able to go back and forth from living to dead, living to dead. And when he dies, he can just run around in this altered version of reality and appear somewhere totally different. He is able to move about in ways that no other character could. Now, his magic casting abilities are extremely lacking. He only is seen in games to have blast like balls of energy and blasting balls of telekinesis. There is some other abilities, but they're mostly derived from his weapon, which we're going to talk about pretty soon here. But when it comes to his magic abilities and his abilities that are innate regarding his body and his very morphology, he is able to navigate the world by climbing, swimming, and all sorts of ways through the spirit realm and back that are very unique, that can give him new avenues of escaping that no other person could ever think of in the Warhammer setting. Now let's talk about it. The soul of the very Soul Reaver, his blade. His blade is imbued with every element that exists. Light, dark, air. He's got a lot of elements to work with here. And with these elements comes a lot of unique properties. The interesting thing about his blade is that when it is augmented to a specific, I would say element, specific element, it affects his telekinesis and his balls of energy to where they are now emitting whatever it is that blade is set to. This could be very, very interesting depending on what enemies he's going against, like a troll. If he's fighting a troll, he just sets that thing to fire and he could do a lot of damage to it. If he's fighting a banshee is a being of dark magic. So just set that blade to light and he does extra damage to it. This is what I mean by Raziel. He has a very unique weapon. Not only does his weapon strip people of their souls and has every element imbued into it, but it's also able to pretty much cleave through people's material fabric. It is able to go through armor in ways that we've never seen before. So this is a weapon that would be very, very effective against just about any enemy you could think of, especially in the Warhammer setting. So let's think about it. What would be a really, really, really bad thing for Raziel? So let's talk about locations. After much thinking, I think most areas would be totally fine for Raziel to live in, as long as there are 3 areas he is not put into: Ulthuan, Nagaroth, and the Empire. You may say, why those areas? Well, the answer is quite simple. Death magic. The ability to command death is a power well used in these areas. Empire has death mages. Ulthuan has some death magic capabilities. It can still use death magic, if not better than the Empire. And lastly, Nagaroth will literally steal your soul and entrap it. So these areas are the most dangerous for our legendary protagonist, Raziel. After all, we have issues here like the Empire. They will take note of people's souls disappearing, or crypts that once held warmth are now cold as if the soul of the crypt was sucked out of it. The Empire may take a while, but they will take notice. And one thing that we definitely don't want is a Knight of More or a Mage of the Amethyst Order noticing Raziel. Because once they notice, they're going to start studying him and attacking him relentlessly. This is where Raziel will absolutely die, as they will not stop, and they will entrap him for eternity or burn his soul into oblivion. An Amethyst Mage, after all, that's literally their order's dedication, is to protecting the dead, to using death magic to extend people's lives or to end them, and to make sure their souls pass on. A Knight of More is much the same. They guard crypts, they guard the dead. They are very specialized in killing the undead. So Raziel, while I have no doubt he could kill a Knight of More and he could kill a Mage of the Amethyst Order, the issue becomes is when they start pursuing him and start chasing him. This is when you're having multiple mages, multiple knights, and Raziel's not going to do so good against this. Raziel doesn't really have any armor, and he doesn't do stand-up fights. Anytime you play Soul Reaver games, you may have noticed that your character must never stand still, or else you will absolutely take a lot of damage. So Raziel fighting all these entities that are stripping away his soul, that's separating his soul and blasting him piece by piece. He's going to have to keep moving in circles and circles and circles, but a mage of the Amethyst Order, doesn't matter how much you ran in circles, he's going to be sucking your soul out no matter what. This is what separates Warhammer from a lot of the things in Legacy of Kain. Things are a lot tuned up, as they would be. Now, Ulthuan and Nagaron, we see the exact same issues, but only worse. High Elves, while they're constantly politicking with each other and worrying about their self-image, they will take the threat of an outsider very seriously and dispatch him with impunity, especially when that outsider is touching their ancient ruins and their ancient altars, learning their secrets. Dark Elves will just imprison and steal away Raziel's soul and torture it for its own amusement, and Raziel does harbor loads of pain and anguish that would give any Dark Elf an orgasm from just simply touching. But in Ulthuan, Raziel's soul would just flat out be destroyed, especially if he touches a shrine of Isha or an ancient shrine to Kain. The Ulthuan High Elves are going to be very, very pissy. They're not exactly understanding. They're not a person who stops and asks questions. They will attack you first, and if you reappear, then they realize, oh, we're going to have to use magic to get rid of this guy because he just keeps coming and coming no matter how many times we kill him. This is where Ulthuan is much better than the Empires, that they're much faster in their response. And they don't tend to ask questions. Like an Empire guy sees Raziel's terrible visage, and they're going to be like, oh god, what are you? A High Elf sees you. He doesn't think if you're a dwarf, human, doesn't matter how easy it is for him to tell what species you are. He's already shooting you with an arrow. This is why Raziel would do terrible in these two regions. One, the Dark Elves are going to be chasing him because he's like the ultimate high, where they could get high off of his pain. And then there's Ulthuan, where they will just blow him away, absolutely disintegrate him, and say, wow, I almost made my wig come off. Whoops. Gotta go tend to that before I go back to court. So now what happens if Raziel was not in those areas? Well, as Soul Reaver 2 showed, I think Raziel would be more of a curious observer, constantly investigating ruins, activating random altars he knows nothing about. Could he survive in the Chaos Waste, Dark Lands, and the Border Princes? Absolutely. Raziel is not a conqueror in any sense of the word. Truly, Raziel poses no threat to anybody. He is just a wanderer, seeking out answers wherever he goes. Problem with Raziel that could possibly get him killed, that's not those three locations we mentioned earlier, is Khemri and Lustria. Yes, those two very, very interesting areas. Khemri and Lustria are two areas known for their magic and relics lost in the past. This is where I could see easily Raziel is drawn to these myths and legends that he hears from people. and seeing the murals of the lizardmen or the Nehekarins could entice him further investigating. Problem is that these two lands are notorious for holding altars or temples that, once they're activated, cause catastrophic damage. The lizardmen, for example, I think Raziel could kill their dinosaurs with his legendary weapon. Not a problem. He could kill temple guards, he could kill whatever he needs to. Croxagores, easy. The issue here is when Raziel does a Luther Harkon and tries to enter a tomb or temple that he really should not be touching. So, a Slann will just come in and blast his soul into oblivion. That is ultimate death. He could survive in Lustria. He could go around exploring, especially Skaven ruins or Vampire Coast ruins. He could explore those with impunity. But when it comes to the lizardmen, once they see that he's touching something he really should not be touching, the lizardmen are the kind to not really explain to you why trespassing is a bad thing. Like Raziel could come across this ancient relic that he's going to activate, and he doesn't realize that if he activates it, he releases a portal to hell and releases all the demons from chaos. So, yeah, the lizardmen would absolutely destroy him. Khemri is very similar, but instead we see something a little different. Khemri, Raziel could be walking through. He could be going on through their deserts looking for answers as to why the human populace abandoned this region. And he may discover something interesting. But upon touching it, he realizes he's activating this temple that, again, is going to blast away a nearby human populace because it's just a defense mechanism. The Nehekarins are probably going to imprison Raziel, and they have their own death magic, the mortuary priest. They can hold him down and imbibe him, and possibly even possess him, force him into servitude. That, again, would be against his soul and body, but they could probably do it, knowing their keen understanding of death. These mortuary priests, after all, are pretty much the first practitioners of death magic. They know what they're doing. They can make people's bodies reanimate and fight on their side. So forcing Raziel's body to fight for them, that's definitely a possibility. So overall, how is Raziel? Well, he's a capable fighter. He's a very smart man, very well educated. He wields a legendary blade that cuts any opponent, demon or vampire, with ease. He sucks the souls out of people. The problem is that Warhammer is a different beast entirely. Soul magic is not new to Warhammer. So binding souls and beating Raziel into submission would not be as hard as many Legacy of Kain fans may think. Some people could trap his soul like the Elder God did. Some people can destroy his soul and his soul reaver with a mighty blast of energy, like the Slann. Could Raziel kill a Chaos Champion and Vampire Lord? Could he kill the Emperor of Humanity? Absolutely. The problem is could Raziel kill like a Slann or an Amethyst mage or a High Elf mage? No chance in hell. And this is due to their grasp on magic that is specifically designed to counter Raziel in his entirety. It is meant to kill him in the material realm and then spiritual realm as well. These are people who are specialized in dealing with this specific threat. Raziel can die, and then when he's in the spirit realm, he may think, wow, that mage is really tough. All of a sudden, he feels pain and anguish as his soul is getting ripped to shreds, and there's nothing he can do. The mage has his fingers on him. He is done for. So, as I said, Raziel could do pretty damn well in Warhammer Fantasy. He could exist amongst the orcs, just sighing and going, oh, God, here comes more of those idiots. He can do a lot of crazy things. The problem is that anywhere that has death magic is a no-no for him. He could kill vampire lords, he could kill their undead armies, he could do a lot of crazy stuff. The issue becomes how long till he pisses someone off important enough. How long till he stumbles and gets too curious for his own good. Curiosity kills the cat, and curiosity would kill Raziel. This has been Freer 700. I am out. See you guys next time. And as always, comment down below what you guys would like to see, and look through my other videos out of your own curiosity. See you guys next time.